Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. It's the Erling Haaland show at the Etihad Stadium as a Norwegian bags 2 goals to send Manchester City flying past Bournemouth to second in the table. Joao Pedro's goal lifts Chelsea over hated rivals Spurs as Thomas Frank faces boos from the home crowd at full time. Liverpool end their poor run of form with a 2-0 victory over mistake-ridden Aston Villa, giving Slot a boost ahead of 2 major matches. And it's business as usual for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, who secure another clean sheet and a 2-0 win at Burnley, keeping them firmly atop the table. That's what we have coming up in today's episode.
All right, mate, we're going to start our football at the Etihad with Manchester City facing Bournemouth. But a bit of a different weekend for us. Lee Dixon, Gary Neville in the hot seats next to our Queen herself, Lady Lowe. So the 2 England fullbacks with their perspective on the weekend. So it was kind of a fun watch, sitting back and not having to take too many notes and watching those 2 boys working.
Yeah, it's not very often, mate, when neither of us are in the studio.
Yeah.
I mean, that hasn't happened, many times at all in the 12 and a half years. So it's kind of nice sitting with my cup of tea, having a little chuckle at our mates trying to, doing the long day and handling the food and the shows and the lineups and the highlights and all the bits and pieces. So, yeah, very, very good job. Very comfortable.
Absolutely.
Obviously, they're very, very prominent in the UK and what they do. So, yeah, really, really great to have them, addressing the football fans, Premier League fans here in the US.
And it was a busy weekend, a big weekend. Manchester City was one of the later games of this Matchweek window. Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 1. I suppose for some it may have gone a little bit more to plan in terms of Erling Haaland continuing to score the number of goals, 13 Premier League goals now in 10 games, Rob. And I think back to a Pep quote. Was it back in the Pochettino days where he called it the Harry Kane FC? Is this all Erling Haaland FC, Manchester City? We'll talk about the game, Rob. We'll talk about, how both teams played, City getting the win. But just talk to me about the bigger picture. And it was something that the boys talked of, and we might be starting at the wrong end, but is it a case of City keep Erling Haaland fit and scoring? That's the chance of them winning, getting close to winning a title this season.
It has to be, doesn't it? I think it has to be, Rob. I mean, there's no wiggle room for the start that they've had. I know he's been scoring goals from day one, but they've lost some games. Assuming that Arsenal are going to keep pretty consistent, I don't assume they're not going to lose another game to the end of the season. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a drop off. But if there's not a major drop-off, then that's the only way that City are going to win the title, is if Haaland keeps scoring. Because I'm sure, if Erling Haaland was out, somebody else will play up front. Yeah. Pep's done this before.
Marmoush,
when you see the amazing numbers, it does make you think, wow, they're super reliant on him, which they are right now. But until he gets injured, you don't know. We have seen City continue to win, Rob, with other people playing up front, false nines, Marmoush, whoever it might be, Foden, anybody, and they still play well and create and score goals. So it won't just be about that, but it is obviously the headline when he scores so many. You see the stats of it. Everybody else is on 1 goal, and he's got, 13 now?
13,
Rob?
13, yeah.
I mean, I did think it was, and I love Bournemouth, and we spoke to Andoni Earle, and no surprise, the way that they approached the game was made it tough for City initially because they pressed.
Yeah, that high press.
5 or 10 minutes, they pressed. We know what they're like when they're at their best, Bournemouth. They're high pressing. They make it difficult for opponents. Now, to do that, to high press, if your forwards are high up, your midfield players are high up, your defenders are high up.
Have to be,
And what does that mean? We all know what that means.
If City got half a pitch the other end.
Half a pitch the other end. And I think, again, I love the way that Earle will not sit back and, maybe us fancy, clever pundits will say, oh, he's too high and it's risky business. Well, if he sits back, it's still risky. Like, I like proactive managers that believe in what they do, what players they've got, and how they can approach it. And they gave some problems early on to Man City. Yeah. They gave some problems.
Well, the first attack when the ball goes off and you're slightly offside is them winning the ball in midfield, high press. They get it down the right hand side, and I think it was Brooks crossed it for Krupi Jr. and different circumstance, they're 1-0 up.
Yeah.
Based off what they do.
Well, that's what he's going for.
Yeah,
and the other side of the coin is, we're going to be high up. There's going to be space in behind. If City play a couple of passes and there's space in behind, and our centre backs are not really attuned to dropping off quickly, then they get caught. I think Erling Haaland from early on, Rob, was rubbing his hands. Oh, it's one of these. Don't get many of these playing for Man City, because most teams drop in and make it this deep block where Erling struggles to get touches. This is what he loves, running in behind. It's when he's at his majestic best, gets a couple of goals. Should have had 3 in the first half, Rob, with the third one he went through and just tried to dink it. So that's my initial thought, particularly from Bournemouth's point of view, is like, fair play. You had a go. You don't change anything because you go to that team. And, a different day, they might get more things out of it. They've done that in the past against Man City. But this day, with the big man in great form and the centre-backs for Bournemouth, a little bit disjointed, made some bad decisions when they went into midfield, left all the space in behind, and he sprinted into it and took his goals beautifully. So that kind of, for me, was a story of the game in terms of the tactical setup of the teams.
And I'd agree. I think also that there was something in the personality of Bournemouth, Rob, that they'll go, they have a goal disallowed, just like offside, correct decision. They go 1-0 down. They come straight back into the game and get back to 1-1.
Yep.
They're not a team like you say. We've seen teams go to Man City, go 1-0 down and pack it in and say, right, we're not going to concede another. That's absolutely not what they do. And it's brought home by, I remember having a really, really interesting conversation with Marcus Tavernier, the midfield player, during the Premier League summer series. And we had a little time with the managers and a few of the players. I remember sitting with him and saying, this high press that he's brought in, I said, obviously as a midfield player who's been in England a while, how comfortable are you? And he basically said the biggest thing that he's done in the football club is bring our belief in what we're doing. Right. And there'll be the odd day when it doesn't quite work, and he kind of puts his hand up and says, we'll live with that.
Yeah.
But on the majority of days, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same press, and we're going to win the ball back. And he said, I know, he said, you people like you will watch it and say, "Cool, that's really risky." And he said, "We don't think so. We think that's how we play now." And he's got everybody bought into it. And it was really interesting that we can have an opinion sitting outside the camp, but everybody within the camp, within the dressing room, and that's why this guy seems to do such a good job with his team, is he's got everybody buying into what they're going to do. Regardless that now and then Haaland might run in, and now and then that Liverpool, when they play Liverpool, might have a breakaway with a Salah. But generally, when we press and win the ball back, we're going to give you the opposition more problems as well.
So they'd rather get grooved at doing something, Rob, that they can do each week. Correct. And get really good at doing it, and not have to sort of change every game.
Depending on
it's City, we're going to do this, which is, Thomas Frank does that at Spurs. He changes to whatever. But I guess I like it this way better, where you get really grooved at doing something, and some weeks it looks pretty bad, but majority over 38 games is going to work out pretty good. And you can't complain of how they've done, Rob, over last year and how they're doing right now. So, fair play.
So, as I was saying today, mate, I wrote 3 reasons why City can win the title still from where we are, 6 points behind. All right, 3 reasons. Erling Haaland, you've mentioned, is one.
Number 2, Erling Haaland.
Number 2, Pep Guardiola.
Okay.
If Pep gets at it, if Pep's fire starts, if Pep can bring these players in, this is with no Rodri, with some injuries, if Pep can get the momentum going, and this team, as we know, Rob, can go on 5, 6, 7 games straight wins. They would only need Arsenal to lose 1, draw 1, and all of a sudden, that distance is thing. So Haaland, Pep, and the third thing I've gone for is know-how. Yeah, they've got the know-how. They know that they're points behind now, and they were in 10 games in. And listen, everything's looking bright and rosy for Arsenal, and could very well be their year. But this team have got no. This team know if they can stay close within 6, not make sure this gap doesn't go above 6, something might happen. You win 1, you lose 1, you lose 2 if you're at the top of the table, and things can change. And so I kind of feel, I know some people are suggesting that Liverpool are the only chasers to us. I still think Manchester City, and I know they've lost Was it 4 games already this season?
3. So,
3 games, sorry.
just
You
looking
said,
at it, Rob.
yeah. 4 or 5.
Liverpool have lost 4. Liverpool have lost 4
that's
already.
right.
And Man
City
City lost 3.
3.
So for them to do it,
Yeah.
we don't see teams, I think 5 or 6, Rob, over the last decade or more. I'm pretty sure.
But are we going to see the dominant to do that, Rob? And you're right, would mean that Arsenal are going to have that domination that we've seen Liverpool do or City do, where they go flying out and everybody else can't afford to lose too many.
Yeah, I mean, but that's been the case, Rob, for the last 10, maybe 15 years. Mm-hmm. Again, I can't remember ever a team winning the Premier League title with 7. And maybe after the show, I'll go back and check that. So, it's usually 4 or 5 at the most.
4 or 5 used to be.
Liverpool have always
they haven't got much wiggle room.
They haven't got much wiggle room.
What we're saying.
And that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, if Man City could win, could go unbeaten the next 30 games or whatever's left over, they could go 20 games unbeaten.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to have to happen. The big man's going to have to stay fit.
Yeah.
They're going to have to stay a bit more secure defensively. Of course, they're in the Champions League again, Rob, which is another competition. City never have.
They go Dortmund, isn't it, this week? Yeah.
They got Dortmund this week. I think on Wednesday. Then they have Liverpool home on the Sunday.
Yeah, it's a massive week.
Yeah. I mean, I thought just quickly on the way they played, Rob, kind of different again for Pep. He played with his fullbacks really, really high.
Yeah.
Really like Nico O'Reilly. Really like him.
He's done a good job, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done a very good job. I think he's a super player, scores his goal really well. Ryan Aït-Nouri is fit again now. I wonder if he might lose his place. But I mean, O'Reilly, for a young kid, I mean, size of him, he's over 6 feet.
Another one through that academy, isn't he?
Really, really good. Jeez. But then so it's kind of 4-2-3-1, but narrow. Flooded the midfield, flooded it, made it difficult for Bournemouth and let those fullbacks go on the outside. So, not as dominant as they, again, I'm just going through my notes a little bit, not as dominant in the first 20 minutes, down to Bournemouth. Bournemouth pressed them. Bournemouth used the ball pretty well. But when you got that big man up front and when there's space to run in behind, he certainly made the most of it. Just one player, Rob, I want to pick out, and I'm going to go quite early here, and my underappreciated performer. And, we kind of look at this at the end of the weekend, and for me, I struggled a little bit this weekend with a strong underappreciated performer. So I'm chucking in Ryan Cherki, the new French kid, 22 years of age. And I think I've talked about him before, probably after the first game of the season, because I know how silky he is and how clever and skillful he is. And I'm sure the general Premier League fan yet hasn't. They've seen flashes of Cherki. He got injured.
A bit injuries on
he got injured. But he got 2 assists in the game, Rob. He assisted the big man twice. The one that hit first time, a little clip over the top. He is super creative. Got brilliant vision. He's a little mix on his best day, and of course, he's got to prove this over a long period of time. But he's like a Bernardo Silva and a David Silva. He's that sort of little footballer, and I think fans are going to enjoy his skill and his ability. Again, we'll see whether the physicality of the intensity.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is that one of the problems that we've seen with technical little footballers?
And we've talked about that in the podcast, Rob, with Simmons and Geertsen and a few others. So he might, I just think he's one to watch. This is an underappreciated of his talent, his ability, but more so one to watch. One to watch for City and Pep bringing these players in. I mean, a recent wave of signings hasn't been that great really for them, but Ryan Cherki could be pretty special, given experience, getting used to it, getting used to the physicality. I think he's a little bit fancy Dan, Rob, we'd say, where he's sometimes a little tricky and fancy for his own good in the Premier League.
Yeah, he likes a little touch and things.
He likes a little, showboating a little bit. So you have to learn that.
Well, you can do that if you're good enough, if you're still delivering. Ronaldo used to do it in his very best, but then he'd be smacking them in from 30 yards. But I don't mind it, mate. Chucking and Cherki.
Cherki.
But one to keep our eye on. And as we say, if City are going to go close, they're going to need consistency from those wide players, from those midfield players, as well as the big lad up front if they're going to go close. So, but important big 3 points for City. Take some second in the table, mate, and all of a sudden, people are looking at it slightly differently. Let's go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where, well, pretty basically, Spurs can't win at home. And Chelsea always go away and beat Spurs. I think it's 6 of the last 7 times Chelsea have beaten them away from home now. There was a little bit of unrest, Rob, around Spurs and Thomas Frank, and I mean, the manager's still finding his way and sort of building the structures in which he wants to play. He's a guy that likes to have maybe a bit of a variation on system that maybe is a bit different to what Spurs have known. And, he's been at Brentford where you're not expected to dominate possession, where you can sit back maybe a little bit. But a 1-0 win to Chelsea. Lovely goal by Joao Pedro after good work from Moises Caicedo. What does Thomas Frank have to do, Rob, to start to build his relationship with the fans as much as the players?
Gosh, I mean, you think about it, right? Tottenham Hotspur, it must be one of the hardest jobs as a manager to go in there and be popular with the fans, be popular, because they've seen it all. They've literally seen it all, from expanse with Ange Postecoglou and total attacking play, to then dial it back with Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho. We've had everything. And I suppose Thomas Frank is the natural next bit. Well, he'll do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But these fans, Rob, they don't, I don't know what they want. I don't know when they're going to be happy. I know they weren't happy with Daniel Levy that's left the club right now. The image at the end, Rob, and we'll get to the game a little bit in a second, but the little bit of news that came out, the video that came out, that Thomas Frank going onto the pitch, almost offering his hand like that to his players to congratulate them, not congratulate him, but say, whatever, like hard luck or whatever, or, we'll go again. And Jed Spencer's reaction to it was I thought, a really bad look, actually. And I know Jed Spencer, a little bit of history. Remember, he said things about, I think, a former Middlesbrough manager that gave him some critique, was it Chris Wilder? I think it might have been. It was somebody that then he had to go back. So I think Jed Spencer's a little fiery, and then that wasn't a good look. And Thomas, he blanked him, just walked off and was throwing his arms up. Thomas Frank looks behind, stares at him for quite a few seconds, because that's kind of humiliating for a manager.
A new manager.
It just made me think. Is Thomas Frank? I'll throw it to you as a question. Is Thomas Frank got the gravitas, the experience, the name, to gain the ultimate respect from the players and the support base at Spurs? Are they waiting? Well, let me just throw it to you. Is there something in it that Spurs expect something greater than Thomas Frank?
I think not, and I totally get your point, and that would always be the challenge of a Thomas Frank can do it to Brentford, but Big Six expect you to have the ball and act and play in a certain way. But I'll point back to you've talked about Spurs have seen it all. I'll point back to the last what I would deem successful Spurs beyond Ange winning the Europa League, and that was Pochettino. Who came in from Southampton, who's not too dissimilar in a way in terms of how they play and how he's going to conduct. A good communicator, works well with the media, plays good football, wants to do it right. Part of my issue for Thomas Frank and part of what I was writing down was, they're not quite good enough to play through the lines and into the midfield at the moment. It's just not a team I don't think that's built for that. Now, Thomas Frank's Brentford teams had physical, speedy, athletic forwards who you could go back to front to an Mbeumo, a Wissa, or a Tony and change the game that way. Well, in Spurs, you've not really got that kind of player either. If you play Moani or you're playing Tells or maybe Solanke, maybe, but I'm not sure that's his game particularly. So I'm kind of feeling like the tools that he's used to having to play the best Thomas Frank style, he hasn't got with Spurs. And so he's still working out, actually, how am I going to be successful with it? What is the style of football that's going to get me the best results? And the other big thing, Rob, is, and I read a stat that kind of blew me away, they've only won 4 games in the calendar year at the Tottenham Hotspurs.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's
4
crazy.
games in a stadium that big with that fan base, with all the atmosphere. They've won 4 games
in almost a year. That's incredible.
And for managers, then you we both know, like, you're home, you win, the fans cheers, you have that connection, you clap them, you go off. They've had that 4 times.
Yeah.
So they're not building up that kind of relationship. Well, you remember at the G-Tech, what he'd have? He'd go round, the songs were singing, he'd go into the crowd, and they loved him.
Yeah.
And that's when I think Thomas Frank's at his best.
No, it's a good point, mate. And of course, he'll deserves to get time, and he will get time. I'm sure the frustration, Rob, of losing to a big rival in Chelsea. You know, they really don't get on, Spurs, and there's been some really physical games, and this was kind of physical. Actually, when I think back, Jed Spence, it was Neil Warnock. It was the former Borough manager, Rob. It was Neil Warnock who was critical of Jed Spence. And I think it was something like, "You wait to see where I'm going to go," or there was some. So anyway, but no, it was just. I just thought they went in with the right approach. I thought they were intense. I thought it was a physical game, but Chelsea gave all that Spurs could give them and more. You know, there's a lot of talk about this Chelsea team, Rob, of being young, inexperienced, a little bit naive sometimes. They get the red cards. They're a little bit emotional at times. But I tell you what, they're physical when they need to be.
Yeah, they didn't get bullied, do they? They don't get bullied.
Moises Caicedo. I mean,
we couldn't give him underappreciated, because if we could, he would have been mad. Yeah,
he is appreciated.
And he is appreciated now, isn't he?
People know, and Reece James next to him. Talk about physical players. Caicedo's desire to win the ball is just, it did amazing for the goal, and just in other areas, Rob, they got plenty of physicality, by the way, and I know that Chelsea, that it's been inconsistent a little bit, but I still really like what they do. And I know that they've lacked consistency. Yeah. When I watch the team plays tactically, which is what I love watching, the little details, it's different nearly every week. Yeah. The way that they set up, Reece James in midfield with Caicedo, the wide players play differently. The fullbacks, this time it was Malo Gusto that played
Gusto right, didn't he, James?
Really high. Really high.
Like Cucurella came in.
So I like that, and that gets underappreciated, because that's the reason they dominate games. That's the reason why they beat PSG, and PSG was scratching their heads because they had really good movement. Cole Palmer coming in off the outside in that particular game. They're missing Cole Palmer right now. So I like what the manager does. I want this to go really well. There's hiccups that draws a big sigh from the fans, but I know there's money that they spent, and you could argue they should have spent it on ready-made players. This is a project, the Chelsea project, and this was a good day for it, because not so much because the talent of the players, but just the attitude, Rob.
Turned away from home, difficult place, physical game, and came out on top. To be honest, mate, came out on top.
Yeah, they can physical. They can play that way. They can play good football. I mean, there's still question marks of certain bits in the team. I think we all know that. But I just thought it was particularly impressive. I just thought they needed the second goal, Rob. They should have got a second goal way early.
Yeah, I was going to say, second goal would have done. But I thought that their structure was better, their press was better, more organised. And Caicedo, mate, is becoming one of those players who, he's not there yet, and but he's becoming the Rodri of the Man City team. That
N'Golo Kante. He's becoming Makelele type. All he needs is to win. Correct. They need to win the title. If he win a title, a Premier League title,
looking at him differently,
they're going to say, people will. I know they're just going to. And all I'm saying is, Rob, now he is at that level, and maybe the team isn't yet to win a Premier League title. Yeah. But if and when they do,
you've got a great piece.
People will then give him.
You've got a great piece already. He's young, Rob, isn't he? There's still more to come. Still absolutely more to come. So, good 3 points for Chelsea, and it takes them up into the table. I think 6 in the table now, when they were sitting mid-table. Spurs still having problems at home, still kind of can't quite seem to get it right under Thomas Frank.
And they're 5th, Rob, aren't they? They're still
I know. It kind of tells you about the league, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're 5th and Chelsea 6th. Yeah. So, good win for Enzo Maresca and his team. Good 3 points. Okay, mate, let's go to Anfield, where basically we've been seeing Liverpool lose games on a regular basis. 4 straight in the Premier League, lost 6 of the last 7, including the League Cup against Crystal Palace this week, which was 3-0 defeat. I know it was not all the first-team players, but a loss is a loss. So this kind of felt important, this game, Robert, for a Liverpool team against a Villa side that had picked up in form. We're starting to look a little bit more like the old Villa that we thought from years under Unai Emery. Bit of fortune with the first goal. Gravenberch gets a second, a 2-0 win, a clean sheet, which I think was just as important as anything else, and the 3 points, Rob, that kind of eased a little bit of the noise, the angst, the spotlight on a slot in his team.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about Andy Robertson's back at left back, Rob, and you look at the outfield team, pretty much last season's team, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
You got Ekitike up front, where it may have been Luis Diaz. Trent, was in and out a little bit. Bradley played a lot of games last year, so it's very, very close to last year's.
McAllister back in next.
McAllister back in the midfield. Szoboszlai was incredible again. I mean, the engine.
That's him, isn't it? That's what they miss that, Rob, when he's not playing that role.
Yeah, I mean, just covering every inch of grass. It's just amazing what he does in midfield. The engine that this guy's got is pretty astounding. And I just thought they got better through the game, actually. I thought they got better through the game. I think that Aston Villa played into their hands a little bit, Rob. Given the troubles that Liverpool have had, troubles Liverpool have come from direct play, long balls up, getting them behind, those centre backs, asking questions. And Villa tried to play out from the back, and ultimately it was a reason why they come unstuck and they conceded goals. They made mistakes. Martinez passes it to Mo Salah, taps it in. They get caught out playing out for the second goal as well. All I would say, Rob, and I think it's easy. I think the guys in the studio, Lee and Gary, talked about it. Why are they doing it? Why are they playing out from the back?
Why Villa?
Why Villa were doing that. The only thing I would say is, again, some of these managers, they believe in a certain way and they're going to stick with it. I think I read a quote of one of the players saying it's just how we do things. Now, they have been a little bit varied. But all I would say is in the first 4 minutes, I think it was 4 minutes, wasn't it? Villa played through Liverpool a lot.
Yeah.
Played through that press. And Morgan Rogers goes through.
Has a shot, doesn't he? Smashes one. Yeah.
Well, that was playing through. So that's what that's why he's doing it. That's why they are doing it. That's why anything is trying to play out, because if you can play through the press, then the space opens up and you get chances. Now, again, it's all about risk and reward, Rob. And given the mistakes they made, it wasn't worth it. No. But that's why they do it. If Rogers scores 1-0, then the game changes. Then they sit back. Then they don't play through and then we should say fair play for Aston Villa for playing out from the back.
Yeah,
but this is
we go. Yeah, if you score, it's the right thing. If you don't score, it goes the other way.
You get pitted a little bit. I just think it's important to say that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, and that's how he trains and that's how he works. And what he's saying is we should do that better. Not that we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I just think we all and the game in general, Rob, jump on when they see something don't work. Everybody will say, "Well, why are they doing that?"
Yeah.
Well, Unai Emery's a pretty smart coach, and so's Andoni Iraola. They have their philosophies, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And this time, almost did with Villa.
Yeah, Rogers scores that goal, Rob. It's different. And
it's different.
I didn't realise Liverpool are conceding in the last 7 games, the first goal in the last 7 games. So all of a sudden they'd be on the back foot. A little bit of negativity drops in, and could be different. Could be all different. But I just thought it was an important day. Mo getting his 250th goal for Liverpool is obviously a landmark goal, but just important for him to get him scoring. Gravenberch back in, him and McAllister back in spots that looked more normal, Rob. I've been saying for a few weeks, and I know Kirkes was bought, and I think you may even said to me, well, we've got to get him through. I just want Robbo back in the team for the moment. I think Kirkes can sit on the bench and wait his time. I think Virgil's happier with him next to him. It just felt a little bit more everything in the right place. And I know that might mean that Kirkes is, we spent money is on the bench. It might mean that Wirtz is on the bench. It might even mean Isak, when he's fit, might not always start if the other fella's scoring goals. But if you're winning games, Rob, and their time's going to come, then you sort of bring them into the team as and when.
Listen, I don't know the exact numbers, mate, but Hugo Ekitike, when he plays, they win.
Yeah.
The start, and there were some lucky bits to it. They won. They won a lot of the games at the start with him playing. Isak comes, gets in the team, they start losing. Isak's injured. Ekitike starts up front. They look good again. He closes down well. I just like Ekitike a lot. Yeah. And looking back, I wonder if Richard Hughes and Rob Edwards, the sporting directors at the football club, just think, we could have used that Isak money to strengthen other areas.
Yeah.
Other areas in the team they could have used that money. I mean, this shoulda and coulda and decisions that they make. I just think it's Ekitike back in. Love him as a centre forward. It's about him. He's the 9. He's not trying to play with somebody else. Yeah. I think he enjoys it. I'm not surprised. When he starts, they often win.
I've got another one of my big thoughts, mate. I was on my big thoughts weekend this weekend with not being in studio. So, are Liverpool still in it? You'd have to say yes, but obviously got a bit of work to do.
Lots of work to do.
But if we're saying, let's say for now, we think there's 3 teams in it. We're going to get to Arsenal in a minute. What we know with that team is at the moment they're playing the best team and they've got the set pieces, mate. However you look at it, it'll become a game changer for that team.
Yeah.
Manchester City, we know that they'll have to be better, defensively better, more control of the game. But at the top end of the pitch, they got 13 goals that could end up at somewhere near 40 if he continues and stays fit. Liverpool, I sense, Rob, have to have a number of their players playing well. It feels like they need more of the team to be doing well for them to have a chance. Now, that's not that Mo doesn't have great moments or Virgil, which we saw last season, and Gravenberch, but lots of those players were playing at a good level for Liverpool to be on that run and winning. They haven't got the set pieces in the same way. They haven't got the Erling Haaland in the same way, but they've got their style and brand of football that when that goes well and they're playing with that intensity and a bit more control, that's their winning formula. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to sort of pinpoint what each team might need to have if they're going to go and win it.
Well, I'll tell you what Liverpool need.
Go on then.
Mo Salah to score 25 goals. That's
right now, the way they're playing, he might score 25, they might concede 25. That's the problem with this team. They're conceding way more goals than we've seen them. And
I know they look better in this one, a little bit better. They got stronger,
but I think it's more of a team. Feels like a team. Everybody's sort of game picks up a little bit. Zoboszlai, as we've talked about, so Gravenberch done well. Robbo's back in, just feels a bit more comfortable. I don't know, a bit more safer.
What are you saying, Rob? What are you saying? Like, what do they need to happen to win the title? Like,
well, I'm saying if you look at Arsenal, if you're saying Arsenal are going to win the title, and you say give me 2 or 3 reasons, set pieces are going to be one of them.
Yeah, defensive's the main.
Defensive solidarity. You say Arsenal, you say City, it'll be big man and possession and maybe more control, defensively better. So I'm saying Liverpool, I don't think there's no big one thing. I think it feels like number of the players all have to raise their levels to some of the levels we've seen, and that's how they have a chance. I still think if Salah gets you 25 goals, I'm not convinced they win it.
Really? Yeah, well, that's that. I mean, I'm not convinced to get 25 goals. You know, I don't think it's going to be the same Mo Salah. I know he scored a couple of goals in recent games and stuff. Nice finishes, both of them. Last previous goals. That's going to help him wonderfully. And maybe now he'll go on a run and get a good amount. But you're right. I mean, I know what you mean. Like so that's one bit that's got to click in. The second bit got to click in is that Ekitike and probably Ekitike stay in the team and score 20 plus goals. Get a good amount of goals, be the regular goal scorer. I think Gakpo, as we said at the last podcast, Rob's been doing his work. He's doing good. The midfield, you've got the midfield from last year. Plus, you've got.
It looks like Wirtz will be benched then, based on that for now.
Yeah, and the other thing, so Salah, the striker, and the defensive unit, that they can't afford to have the same. You know, a clean sheet for Liverpool. When was the last time we said that? I don't know. Certainly not many times this season in terms of clean sheets. So, yeah, I know what you mean, Rob. There's quite a lot of things that's got to click into place for them to go on a run to catch up the gap. They've lost 4 games. Yeah. Back to our conversation at the start. They've lost 4. Like they can afford to lose 1
or 2, maybe.
Or 2. After that, we've never seen it before. So that's why, even though it's so early, you know, there's a 7-point gap, I think, between them and Arsenal. Yeah. You know, and Arsenal are not losing, even if they don't score, Rob. You know, from set pieces or they're. I mean, I think Havertz is going to be fit soon. Madueke is going to be fit soon. All these players are coming back. They just don't concede any goals. So, I think it is the 3 of them can win it. That's the 3 that can win it. I mean, just looking at, I mean. Yeah, Chelsea have lost 3 games already, and you got Bournemouth. You got others up there. Spurs are not going to win the Premier League, so there's 3 that can do it.
Yeah.
I think there's a very heavy favourite in Arsenal, but as Lee Dixon talked about on the show, Rob, until we start getting into March, what's their gap? Is it 8 points? Well, we had 8. They had 8 points before and didn't manage to do it a few years ago. So there will be a pressure, and Lee Dixon's absolutely right. You don't know how the manager's going to react, but if the squad stays relatively fit. Well, they have got a big squad now. That'll be some title not to win if Arsenal don't win it this year. Everything is in place for them to win it, and it'll take an incredible run from Liverpool and/or Man City to get up there and to pip Arsenal. But right now, you can't rule them out. But I got to think it's going to be very difficult with Liverpool's 4 losses, and as you made the point, Rob, different parts of the team. It's got from now on, it's got to be perfect almost.
Let's go to Turf Moor, mate, rather than alluding to it. Burnley 0, Arsenal 2. 8th corner kick routine gets the goal for Gyökeres, and then Declan Rice flies forward on a counter attack to get the second. It was funny, Rob, because as I was watching sort of the build up to this game, my mind took me back to, do you remember those days of Arsene Wenger's Arsenal going to Sean Dyche's Turf Moor, and it was always like Dyche couldn't wait to get his hands on him, and it'd be smashing into him, and it'd be long balls up to the big strikers and all that stuff. And I kind of felt this Arsenal was so much different. And to be fair, the other Arsenal often got results. But just their football, just their composure, just their possession, it was almost like turn up, did the job, got the points.
So easy.
I thought it was straightforward. I thought it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so
if they wanted a third, they might have even pushed for a third. I almost felt 2-0. They thought job done.
They did, but they rested, rotated, mate. They made the substitutes, used all subs. I think that's what they can do now. They can put games away, knowing their defensive side of things is so strong. I think Arteta subs maybe earlier than others might because of that, and feels confident that he can bring players in, so players get rested. I thought Burnley were not competitive. I mean, it's easy to say, isn't it? Pretty much outclassed. I thought they were a little better in the second half, Rob, but they didn't manage a shot on target. So that speaks to them. Also speaks again to Arsenal. Didn't allow a shot on target. So just one thing I noticed, Rob, and for that first goal, no surprise, it was Gabriel who assisted. Got first to the, and listen, he's probably been doing it all season, but I just noticed how with set pieces against, and particularly the throw-ins,
he's a guy.
Gabriel is absolutely free
to go and head it.
Everybody else has got a man, and he literally sprints to the ball and heads it clear. Maybe he's been doing that all season long, and set pieces in corners, I think, too.
Right now.
It's almost like, okay, everyone's got a man. Gabriel, you're the best. Go and just get the timing of the ball or the flight of the ball and go and head it away. So, I mean,
pretty
again,
good tactics. Pretty good tactics.
Pretty good.
We used to do back in the day, Rob. We used to have John Fashion, who was a beast, 6'2" monster. And we would the same with him. He'd have no one to pick up. He would just have to go just wherever the ball
run and head the ball.
Run and head the ball. We'll deal with other people. And it used to work. One, that Fash was like a beast. Nobody wanted to run into him anyway, but it kind of worked. But it was funny. Somebody brought to my attention that, Arsenal are that good now at set pieces. They score from their own corner, and they also score from Burnley's long throw, because there's a long throw from Kyle Walker, headed out by Gabriel. They break away with Gyökeres and Trossard, and Rice gets the goal.
Rice gets a goal. Yeah, I was pleased for Rice, Rob. I thought he had a brilliant game. Absolutely outstanding.
Excellent.
And the only thing that I've said about Declan Rice before is a number 8 should get more goals. I think it's the second Premier League goal. Great header. And he had a brilliant game. I mean, he's one of them, again, that can cover all areas. His desire, his hunger throughout the game was brilliant. But the goal for him is important. I think in that position, if you can add goals from midfield, because Arsenal haven't got a ton of goals from midfield, have they, over the years, really?
Not really, no. You 6 sevens or so.
Yeah.
Not really a double figures type guy, have they?
A couple of years ago. So that's good, So it was brilliant, but very, like you said, very, 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 very simple. I thought David Raya, and again, and not that Burnley were pressing much, but he very rarely plays short now, Arsenal. They very rarely play out. It's very much direct long
You go
ball.
into it,
Because
yeah.
they've got the big man, Gyökeres up front. Good for him, gets to the goal. But no risky football from Arsenal now. No risky football. Much more direct. Pick up the second balls. Comfortable. Very comfortable.
So I've got two lines, Rob, quickly, where I was just thinking about Burnley, and when I was writing, a little bit about Arsenal, and I was thinking, Burnley were the Arsenal of the Championship, weren't they, last season? Do you remember 30 clean sheets, 16 goals conceded? Incredible ability to not concede goals.
Yeah.
You see this step up of quality, and that's where people say that gap continues to be a big gap, and it's so hard for these promoted teams just to stay in there. So just thought that was interesting. I suppose the other thing, Rob, is and I know Lee tipped on it a little bit when they were talking. Right now, what stops Arsenal?
Lack of goals.
Depth, goals, mentality, pressure, or manager. Because I know Lee threw in the Arteta thing. So depth, goals, mentality, pressure, or manager, or manager.
Yeah, I think in terms of football side of it, I think more unlikely now because the players that they've signed, Rob. But I think defensively they are going to be strong. That ain't changing. The goalkeeper in the back, they got cover all over. That's going to be good. They might just not score in many. They might have a period where they struggle to score out of open play. And the set piece thing can't. Maybe it will continue every single game, it seems like. But
teams are going to be working harder and harder, aren't they, when they play?
You think so, to stop those set pieces. So that, and then the other side of it, the mental side of it, is it still interesting to me? It is still interesting to me whether you pair the whole team, the squad, the club, the manager, in terms of that pressure and expectation, Rob. That will be another hurdle they have to climb. Because there will be, as Lee said in the game in the show, there will be games where they lose and they're winging the table. The media are going to start writing things. Is the pressure getting to them again? Can they get over the line? Yeah, so that is those two things for me would be they're not going to start conceding goals. And even if they have a lot of injuries, Rob, I still think they got cover now. So it's a little goal. The striker struggles to score for a little while. The wingers don't. Maybe one of them's Saka's out a little bit. So that would be the two reasons. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same. I just feel that if they lost one game and drew a game, and the other two, won got 6 points, all of a sudden people would start because everybody wants to start. Everybody's desperate for Arsenal not to go flying on now, so they can go back to the narrative of bottling it and this and that. So I'd like to see them. They almost there was a bit of a City-like thing about Arsenal this weekend in the domination, in the composure. But that's 10 games in. But I just felt like there was like. Burnley weren't a real threat because of their football. And that's how City used to be. Their football used to dictate everything. Can they continue to do that? Or if and when the football's not quite so good, and when it's a bit of a tighter day, like you say, set pieces look like that's going to get you out of trouble. But if it doesn't, what then? That's the question. I don't know with this group, Bob, because that's the reason I said I thought Liverpool will win the title, because there's about 3 or 4 days, which were 14 draws last season, which games that some they should have won more than lost points. It's those days that I wasn't sure about Arsenal. And at some point, they're going to have a couple of those days. Yeah.
Let me end on this last thing, right? And it's something that I think Gary brought up in the show. Gary Neville brought up in the show when describing Arsenal this season. He kind of described them as, I think the word he used was methodical. Can you remember? He said like Arsenal were very methodical in a slightly they're reliant on set pieces.
There's certain things. Defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I agree with that. Is there a difference between methodical from efficient? If you didn't have I think there is plenty of creativity in the side. I mean, Saka's never could be described as that. I'm not sure Trossard's that type of player. I understand when you might say a Gyökeres, the way that he plays is kind of stodgy. Defensively, they're very strong. I don't know if I describe them as methodical. What do you think, Rob? Is that something is that a fair?
It could be just, use of words. People having a different interpretation of use of words.
But it's used in. I thought you used in a slightly negative, like I wish they're a bit more flamboyant or a bit more. I mean, the open.
Well, everybody's always said, like, you know, that one of the criticisms early in the season was he doesn't let them off the reins. They're not allowed to play players free, and there's a little bit more restriction. But I wouldn't agree with that. To be honest, I don't think that's right. I think when they're playing their football, it's
pretty
their
good.
build up, Rob's as good as anybody's in the league. I would say the best build up when they're on the game. So listen, if that's all you got to worry about, methodical, they'll be methodical all the way to the title, to win it. Yeah. If that's what it takes, mate, that's what it takes this time around. But no, definitely favourites. And, you know, I suppose we're all looking for signs of why they won't. At the moment, you got to say why they will. Okay, let's go to some other results from this weekend, mate. Fulham 3, Wolves 0. That had kind of very big consequences for Vitor Pereira. 24 hours after the game, the manager was sacked and just signed a 3-year contract, I believe, on September the 18th. That is 45 days away, which is very similar to the Gary O'Neill situation when he was the last Wolves manager and he was also sacked. No wins in the Premier League this season. It's the second season they've now gone to the 10 Premier League games without a win. I suppose no real surprise he went, Rob. All the eyes on who might be coming in, and would you believe Gary O'Neill's one of the favourites to come back and take the job again?
You know, I feel sorry for Vitor Pereira because when you've got 2 points from your opening 9-10 games, then this is what's going to happen. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. Again, the football club decided to sell the 2 best players in Ryan Ait-Nouri to Man City and Matheus Cunha to Manchester United. They had a struggle last year to stay in the division. Pereira comes in, does a really good job, gets them playing lovely football, and they find a way out of it, no problem. They sell 2 more of their best players. The players that have come in have been nowhere near what you might expect. You know, what chance have you got? What chance have you got? I mean, if somebody comes in and keeps up Wolves, then I mean,
almost have to do what he did last time around.
Yeah, but with worse players, Rob. With worse players, like, you know, at some point, the manager, you know, it almost becomes an impossible job when you're not given the tools and the players to enable you to be competitive and to win games. I feel that's the case at Wolves. Might be wrong. Somebody else comes in, mate, and keeps this football club in the division with that squad, then I hold my hands up like, wow, you know, what do I know about football? But my sense is telling me, could be Pereira, could be anybody managing that group right now without the quality that they need. How are they going to be competitive and win games and stay up? And he's going to, you know, it's.
Well, yeah. I did a little bit of research, looked on a few blogs and that. There's a few Wolves fans talking about some of his selections, his tactics, Rob. So Gomez and Andre, the 2 midfield boys, the Brazilian boys who I like, I like starting lineup, not playing. Sometimes changing he's gone from a 3 at the back to a 4, then went back to the 3 yesterday against Fulham. So there's been lots of change, no real structure.
He's got to try and do something to win a game.
Yeah, he's just trying to get things going. But you're right, the ownership as well has to take their sort of share of the blame on this one. And it's going to be a gamble for somebody, isn't it? I mean, there'll be plenty of people wanting the job, Rob, because it's a Premier League job, and plenty who believe. Brendan Rodgers' name's got mentioned. He's out of business now with Celtic. Angie's name's Kate coming from. Gary O'Neill, I've seen. Rob Edwards, the Middlesbrough manager now, was at Luton. He's well liked. I think he's an ex-Wolves player. Had been at the club for a certain time. So there's plenty of names and people in the frame.
Yeah, there will be, but I mean, it'll be a short-term thing. There are 8 points. There 8 points adrift, I believe. 8 points to safety.
2 points. Yeah.
That's an incredible difference for somebody to come in and keep them in the division, unless it's somebody that they're going to be okay within the Championship. You know, that might be the appointment.
Well, it has to be, doesn't it?
Come and have a go. Yeah. And we're pretty confident you've got experience in the which is back to Rob Edwards, obviously managing my old team Middlesbrough right now, doing okay.
Yeah.
But somebody that's going to have to be okay with managing in the Championship because. I mean, I just cannot see how they're going to be anywhere near staying in the division. No. But I guess there's a long way to go, mate, and somebody will take it. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, he had a run, didn't he? Was his 6 straight wins at one point during the season when he came in, which kind of took them from relegation right into point of safety. So somebody's going to have to do something similar and more, you'd think, if Wolves are against
with the worst squad.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But, fair play to Fulham again. They got the business done.
Yeah,
Sessegnon, Wilson, Mustoe with the goal. Agbedu with a sending off. The goal scoring opportunity on young Josh King, I think, was going through. So yeah, real bad day for Wolves. And just think about Robert. I kind of was contrasting, almost the cult figure that became Pereira, that was going for drinks in the pub with the fans, and how quickly that turns. That a few weeks ago we see him arguing with fans, having to be pulled away, and this game, it's incredible, isn't it? Incredible.
Yeah.
But let's see how Wolves go on, whether they'll get somebody in place before the next game next weekend. We'll have to wait and see. A team that did make a change, Nottingham Forest, they ended up drawing 2-2 with Manchester United. Manchester United getting themselves 1-0 up and then getting a late equaliser, then going 2-1 down, getting a late equaliser by Ahmad, a lovely volley that got them a share of the points. Didn't see too much of this game, mate, but it would seem that there was a bit of controversy over the corner kick that Casemiro scored on, whether the ball was out or not. And
no, it wasn't out, was it?
Sean Dyche is saying, surely VAR can get involved in that and have a look at it and quickly clear that up. It wasn't, they don't defend the set piece well, in fairness, but then get back Gibbs White and Savona, the fullback, with a goal. And Ahmad came up with a decent finish, and United tried to push for would have been 4 straight wins, but 3 wins and a draw. I suppose it is a bit of consistency.
That's the way it's going to be, Rob, isn't it? Unless you feel differently, they ain't that good. They're going to be better up front. They're going to get more goals. They're going to be a better team. I think it looks a little better, but there's still weaknesses in the side in different spots, and they're going to show themselves now and again. 2 goals conceded in this game, and they're going to win some. But I hope the United fans don't think they're going to be really, really challenging for the top 4, because I don't see it. I just don't see it. No. There's too many bits in the side. They've got to make some more improvement. They've made improvements. I know there's a plan. I read about Jason Wilcox. Jason Wilcox talking about a plan they've got for all areas of the team, and that's great. But that's going to take time.
Yeah. Listen, I would think top 8, Rob, should be the target for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
if that gets you a bit of European football, then that's great. Yeah. And if not, then you concentrate on the next season and building on what they've got. But
recruitment.
Listen, consistency, not getting beat, having a little run of games is important now. It's better. I'm going to go to London Stadium, mate. West Ham 3, Newcastle 1. A really important 3 points for Nuno and his team. That things haven't quite gone as he would like, and must have been unhappy when he scored, conceded. I think Bowen shoots at one end, hits the post. Less than 30 seconds later, Murphy goes up the other end and puts Newcastle 1-0 up. And then Paquetá with a good strike. I thought keeper should have done better. Oh, goal by Botman just before half time. And then Thomas Souček does what he does late on, bungles one over the line to give a little bit of comfort to Nuno. And again, Rob, I was just watching the game. I've seen Nuno, when they conceded the first goal, and he's gritting his teeth and he can't believe his luck that we've hit the post one end, they score. By half time, he's got a sort of smile on his face because they're 2-1 up. The own goal from Botman gives them the lead. And then at the end, mate, those scenes of him hugging, the fans jumping and dancing, and the players obviously buying in. It's just like, geez, this Premier League is incredible. And the toll it must take on managers. what you go through. That was 90 minutes. You've got another blooming 30, 28 of those to get through.
Yeah, I mean the team looked better, didn't it? You had Wan-Bissaka playing right back. He's a good defender. I thought they defended quite well, actually. The set pieces were much better. I thought they looked a bit more determined. Yeah, it's more of a standard looking side. Left back playing at left back, a right-footed player playing at right back. I think when you look at Somerville, Paquetá, and Joe Bowen, Rob, they should get you. They are going to create and score. Yeah. I think enough goals. They've just got to be, as a team, better defensively. Callum Wilson thought was struggled. Rob, Callum Wilson, struggled. Got dragged off. by his manager. But no, you're right. I just only one player I wanted to mention, Rob, in this game. And I know he's a controversial figure, and he's been in all sorts of problems, been cleared of the betting scandal. Lucas Paquetá, the Brazilian, Rob. And we see him one week. Back to your point, Rob, about football, how it changes so quick. We're kissing his badge. Remember the game? He's kissing the badge in front of the fans, and then the next, last week you hear that he wants out of the football club. But what a player! What a talented player! And what a performance in this game at home when the club needs him. We spoke with Graham Potter, Rob, didn't we? And we had a good 10-minute chat. Maybe the most important thing that I took from him was about Paquetá, and he said he's so great, but his levels are so different. He can be absolutely top class, world class, and then awful for the team in other situations. This was more like the good Paquetá, and he's just got the quality and the talent. His shot was a good shot. It dipped at the end, made it difficult for Pope. He probably should have done better. But he's always involved. If West Ham are going to do okay this season, I still think even with his tendencies to be sometimes poor without possession, his quality on passing, linking up, assisting. He's a quality player, and
him and Bowen are going to be key. Him and Bowen are going to be key in that front line with Somerville. And it's funny, Rob, because you say that, and I remember we saw a little bit of training in the summer, and the thing that I was blown away with how competitive he was. Sometimes Brazilians with that much ability, you think like they're in and out. They'll do. He was flying into tackles. He was getting people going. He backs into people. He was, he's fiery little so and so, and I think you need a little bit of that beyond having the ability. But I want to go off in a different direction, my friend, because I want to call my underappreciated player of the week. And I want to give the award this week to a young man called Freddie Potts, who's the son of Stevie Potts, who we probably both played against. It was his first ever Premier League start today, mate. And he's not Paquetá, and he's not Brazilian, and he's not a superstar. But I tell you what, they didn't half need him today. He's one of their own, come through the academy, 22 years of age. I remember I've seen him 3 or 4 times now, Rob. He's brave in possession. He has the ball wherever. He'll play forward. He's nice and neat and tidy. He's got a little bit of bite in him if the tackle's there. He looked today like when one or two of his more experienced older teammates were, not sure about the situation. He looked like, give me the ball, let me get on it. Confident.
He was scored as well. He scored, didn't he?
He got a goal that was just disallowed. I think it was Souček who maybe got off. And it's a nod to him, Rob, because like you say, for all your Paquetás and your Callum Wilsons and your players, your big players who are on big money, your academy that brings them through. And this West Ham academy, and I just wanted to go through very quick 8 players who've come through their academy, mate. And I'm going to start with Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, Michael Carrick, Mark Noble, Joe Cole, Paul Ince, and Tony Cottee. That's in recent times, and that's not forgetting the great Bobby Moores, Jeff Hurst, Billy Bonds, Martin Peters, Trevor Brooking. Those brilliant old players.
I know.
And this academy has continued to help this football club. And I thought today, young Freddie Potts was outstanding for a young guy in his first Premier League start in such a big game where. It could have been one of them where you make sure you go close to someone so you can't have the ball and you're not always accessible. I thought he was excellent throughout the game. I thought he gave a lesson to some of the more experienced players in the team.
It's a good shout, and it's exactly what they need. It's what West Ham United need. In the centre of midfield, they've had a problem. Guido Rodriguez and players they've sold. Edson Alvarez left the football club. I think he went out on loan or was released. It's been a problem area. Souček and Ward-Prowse and stuff that can't run around so much. They need young legs. And Freddie Potts, he had a couple of looks, hasn't he? He's been
he's come off the bench a couple of times. And
I just wonder if he can, if he can hold down a regular place
now. Yeah.
Different, like it. Young player. West Ham Academy is amazing.
West Ham Academy. Let's go to Crystal Palace. No surprise. Crystal Palace win 2-0. JP Mateta gets one. Collins with an own goal from a long throw in. Crystal Palace continues to do Crystal Palace things, mate.
Just quickly real quick. When we go through these games and stuff, we look at the goal scorers. Brentford was a case in point last year, wasn't it? Remember, we sort of said every time we see a scoreline, Worcester scores and then Bournemouth scores. Right now, that player is JP Mateta. Every time we look at Palace, they win and they score some goals. He's scoring. Now, does that mean that he's going to be the next player that's going to be in demand, Rob? Is he going to be leaving the football club next summer?
Well,
Because
it's funny, you mentioned
scorer.
it a few weeks ago, didn't you? And said, like, why has nobody ever looked at him? Does he?
He's a regular scorer.
Doesn't quite look the part. Yeah, I mean, it's a really great header, by the way. From distance, mate, he puts a lot of power in his neck muscles to get it past the goalkeeper. It's a really smart finish.
Yeah, he always scores.
Yeah, he does always score. But it's a good win for Palace. Good 3 points off the back of the League Cup win as well against Liverpool midweek. Brentford obviously want to pick things up. And then we go Brighton 3, Leeds 0. No surprise, the goals here. Every time Brighton scores, it's Johnny Welbeck, isn't it? Well, with one. And Gomez, who got a couple, I think, in the cup. I think he got
Diego Gomez.
Diego Gomez gets a couple as well. Just feel that Leeds are starting to slip, mate, a little bit.
Maybe, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? It's going to be that, and I say it, every single year. Like, you get a boost at the beginning, and then October, November starts, and it gets colder, and the games start to get thick and fast, and it's a slog. Winter is an absolute slog. It's going to be a slog for Burnley. It's going to be a slog for Leeds United. Sunderland, that play tomorrow, don't they? 3 o'clock Eastern time on USA Network on the Monday game. They look like they're well clear of it. But for the other two, particularly the promoted teams, it is going to be a slog this winter, and you got to get your head down and pick up as many points as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what was it? Burnley and Leeds are just sitting above the line now, and is it West Ham who've got them in the sight? So all of a sudden, in the next week or two,
16th and 17th they are.
Yeah, things could change. But listen, started well. Sunderland have shown them away. We'll see how they go against Everton, as you say. But Burnley and Leeds just got to hang in there. Keep going. We don't know what Wolves are going to do. Don't know what the likes of Forest and West Ham are going to do. Try and do their best to stay in the league. Listen, mate, that's it for this weekend. When Arsenal have made it 13 wins from 15 games all this season, and it was the set pieces again that came good and gave them a 6-point lead at the top of the table. We'll be back next weekend. That's Sunday, November the 5th. When we'll look back at a busy weekend that sees Spurs host Manchester United on Saturday, Manchester City facing Liverpool on a big game on Sunday. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe. Together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe. Stay healthy. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.